What is up, everybody? Okay, so I'm excited because I'm going to be jumping on here with my friend Ashy, who really is one of my partners, one of my best friends, and is actually out in Australia right now. And so tending to her business. So let me get her in really quick. Hey, how are
I'm
you?
good. How are you?
Super, super good. How's Australia?
Amazing. It's so, yeah, I love it. I love being back. The weather is beautiful. I did get told it was snowing in Washington State where I live in the US.
It is.
So,
It is today. Yeah.
so I'm in sunny Perth. So it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm really enjoying it. Um, Extremely busy because I haven't been to see my business for over 2 years because of COVID. So, yeah, it's definitely really busy getting back into the swing of everything, but I'm enjoying being back in the salon and also meeting some of my new employees that I've never met before. So, yeah, very busy, but also really exciting.
And this is what's so cool and why I wanted to jump on and talk to you while you were out there. So, because this is like a really unique thing and not an easy thing to do, which is, really working and running your business, your entire salon from another country. And so, how often would you say you're able to get out to Perth to, kind of see how everything's maintaining?
So, my whole plan was because I knew I was moving to the US so I moved in January 2020. And my whole plan was to come back to Perth probably every 3 to 4 months. So I'd be back 3 times a year. And I'd stay for roughly 2 months and, do training with the girls. And because I think it's really important to keep up, regular training and things like that, and just keep connection. So that was my whole plan. But obviously, we didn't know what was about to happen. And I couldn't get back to Australia for 2 years. So now that the borders are open and things like that, I will be coming back more. But, you have to work with what you've been dealt. And, we kept the business running and operating and still successful over the past 2 years, even though I wasn't there. And it's basically, obviously things are easier when you are in the same time zone and things like that. One of the challenges
Sure.
is, while the girls are awake, I'm asleep in the US. So it's a little bit difficult with communication, but it's, you just have to make sure that the communication is always there. You always you want to let all your employees know that you're just a phone call away or a message away. But also, like, put systems in place and trainings in place so they really know what to do when you're not there. Um,
Yeah. Do you feel like, when it comes to running your business and, being far away, do you feel like it's better being there with them, or do you feel like, everything is just as successful with you over in Washington?
I feel like, um, so I feel like because we have really great foundations to start with, I've had the business now for 7 years, so we really have some great foundations. And I think that's super important. I think if we didn't have that, the grounding, the foundations, the missions, all of our goals, I think it would really kind of gone downhill, me not being there. But I think the whole goal really in business, is to be able to step away from your business so you can work on it. So I think regardless of if I was there in Australia or in the US, I think it still would have ran the same. Probably better if I was there a little bit,
Sure.
because just with the challenges with time zone and obviously being there to really help the employees thrive a little bit more and Obviously, you know, when you're in there, the standards probably are a little bit different. But I also, yeah, without those foundations, it just, you can't step away from your business if you don't have those things in place. So that's super important. But yeah, um, I think so. It still ran really great. I think if I was there more often, like I was planning every 3 to 4 months, we probably would have seen, you know, a little bit more growth because I would have been able to train the new employees a little bit quicker. So things like that, because you can, you know, you train them online for certain skills. Like we specialize in a lot of cosmetic tattooing. So, you know, obviously if I'm doing that in person one-on-one with them, it's a little bit quicker than teaching them online. So with that aspect, it would have been probably the growth would have been a little bit quicker. But yeah, like I said, it's all about having the foundations. And that's the end goal, is to be able to step away, oversee it, and make sure things are running smoothly. And yeah, just I feel like when you're in the business all the time, it can't grow. You're kind of just on like
Right. So it's
Groundhog Day.
probably almost like better to be far from it because then you can focus on while the employees work in, right?
Yeah, because I also find that because I love being in the salon and I love being with the girls, sometimes I'm not as productive with the marketing side and the business side of things. That kind of gets away from me because I'm just enjoying, you know, being in the salon, the day-to-day stuff that I used to do in the salon. That the stuff I do now outside of the salon, I'm like, I'm trying to get time to try and do that again. And it brings me back to that point where I used to be working in the salon doing clients every day. And then when I'd finish work, I'd be working on the business. And it was just nonstop. So it has brought me back to that point where I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is full on again, you know, being in the salon. And I'm not doing clients anymore in the salon, but just being there, you know, teaching the girls and showing them the day-to-day things that I like to get done and things like that. Yeah, it's a lot busier than obviously when I'm in the US and I'm away from that and I'm just doing the business and the marketing side of things. So yeah, it definitely takes me back to the time where, you know, you're kind of just doing everything again.
Yeah. So at what point did you say to yourself, like, I can do this, I can move away, like, it'll be fine?
I think like, so when my whole goal, like when I built my business, I guess my whole goal was always to step away. Like I love what I do. I love being in with the clients and things like that. But I think if you want a successful business with employees and things like that, you do have to have that end goal where you're like, I can't be in this forever. So my whole plan was to always step back. And then, you know, that's when you can grow other, you know, streams of income and things like that. So that was my whole goal. But I think because I had that goal, I just knew I was going to do it. So I had a plan to get to that point. And it was a really hard decision for me to completely step away and obviously move countries. And I think my husband now was just like, are you ever going to, because he's from the US, and he was always like, are you actually moving over at all? So I think he was a little bit concerned whether I was actually going to leave or not. But yeah, it was, I think, you know, just getting things in place. I'm such a planner. So I think if you have an end goal, you work backwards and you create those little steps to get there. So I was just putting things in place. So a lot of systems being automated, a lot of routine. So even, you know, some things you can't automate, you have to kind of be a little bit in control in. But if you can like set up a routine with your employees,
Yeah.
so that's kind of also a form of automation where everyone knows what they're meant to do when. So you're kind of setting up systems a lot of the training that I would do in person with the girls, started turning that on, turning that so it's more online. So just setting up little bits and pieces so I knew, okay, it was time I could step back. And then I was cutting down my hours. So I would work doing clients 5 days a week, 6 days a week. And then I cut back to like 4. Then I cut back to like 2 days. And then I just stepped back completely. So it's just, having a plan and then putting those, those stepping stones in place and just meeting
not going
each
cold
one.
turkey, obviously.
No. And
right.
I think if you did cold turkey, you would see probably a decline for sure.
Yeah.
And you have to have the right employees in place. Obviously, things like that's really important. And I've hired people without even seeing them while I was in the US. And, it's so even you learn a lot throughout the hiring process because it changes from having an interview face to face and really getting someone's vibe as opposed to like doing a Zoom and calls and things like that. So it's definitely been a lot of learning. Now, like I hired 3 new girls in January and I just have met them the last 2 weeks. And
right, that's crazy to me.
I know, it's so crazy, and they're just amazing. So, I think as the more you hire people, and the more interviews you do as a business owner, you start finding the things that you want in someone, and that you kind of know what you don't want and things like that. So this has been really successful with these 3 girls. Have been fantastic, and I think it's just really important to get them on the same page as you, to understand, okay, what's the mission here? Like what's the whole purpose of all of us working together? What's the salon's mission? What's the business's goals? What are their goals? And kind of be on the same page and really be transparent with like what needs to be done, what the standards are, what I won't accept, things like that. I always like to have a good relationship with all the employees. I want them to know that they can come to me and, if there's any questions or concerns, but I also like them to work autonomously, not in a place where they need to be told what to do, or, if there's a little issue, I want them to have the maturity to be able to work it out themselves first before like coming to me and things like that. And I think that creates a really kind of good environment where they have to rely on each other and trust each other and create, good teamwork as well. So yeah, definitely having the right people behind you is obviously massive, and creating a good culture.
For sure, because if you have the wrong employees, they're just going to take advantage because you're out, you're not there, right?
Totally. Yes, because obviously, everyone knows if you're there, everyone's going to work a lot harder. When you're not there, you're going to see, laziness, things aren't going to be the way you want it. The vacuuming's not going to get done as often as you'd like. Just little things like that make a big difference. And that's where, you are essentially trusting these people. And, of course you have things set up like timesheets and cameras and obviously things like that. So, you avoid a lot of, the big stuff happening. But obviously, hopefully when you're hiring the right people, you don't have to worry so much about the bigger stuff happening, but it's just the little things. Like you can see, you need to have someone in the salon that has the same standards as you, because not everyone sees things like you do. Not everyone has the same attention to detail as you do. So you could go into one room and it's super clean and amazing. And you go into another room that you're like, oh, that needs wiping, or that needs this, or that needs that. But that person doesn't see it because we don't all see the same thing. So it's really important to have someone, I think, in place that sees similar things to you and has similar standards to you, because then that trickles down to all the other employees. So yeah, I think that's a big thing, because obviously things are going to slip a little bit. Like, what I also do is I'll randomly send a message to the girls and go, oh, can you just send me a picture of your cupboards? Can you send me a picture of this? And
Wow.
then I have to do it right now. And then I'm like, oh, and sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, that is exactly how I had left it, and it's amazing. And other times they're like, yeah, I've just got to tidy up this little bit and this little bit, but I'm doing that next or whatever. And then they'll send me another photo and stuff. So just random things like that, just to kind of, keep them on their toes a little bit. But, and I think that's just, you just got to find little tips and tricks to kind of keep everything running the way you would want it to be ran. And I think over time you just find those little things that work. And yeah, they never know when they're gonna get asked to send me a photo.
I think I compare it a little bit, kind of probably like how so all my employees are remote. So I think I probably deal with the similar
Yeah.
things where I'm like, okay, what's getting done?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure everybody's getting like what they're supposed to be getting done, right? Otherwise, because it's so easy if nobody's watching you, there's no manager, there's no camera,
Totally.
easy to not do it.
Yeah.
So we lean on spreadsheets and,
Mm-hmm.
obviously for us, it's more sales, because we don't have a brick and mortar, it's more sales based and numbers based. But if you don't, then it just, everything, I think when you're not being watched and that it's on you, even the most self-motivated person is going to say, I'm not feeling it today. I think I'm going to do the bare minimum,
Totally. No, I totally agree. And I even noticed a massive transition for myself when I was going into the salon every day and working, as opposed to working remotely from home. It was definitely, you have to like change your whole mindset. You have to be routined. And that isn't the most easiest thing to do. Like, I was even saying to my friend the other day, I'm like, oh gosh, like, it is such a different feeling, like waking up and actually going to the salon as opposed to what I do in the US and, work from home. Like, it's it's a totally different motivation. And you can get away with more when you are working remotely, because yeah, you could be like, oh, actually, I'll do that a little bit later. I have time to do that later. There's always a later. When you're in the office or the salon or wherever you work, when you're going somewhere, you just get it done. It's just a little bit, it's just different. So yeah,
So
you definitely have to change your whole mindset, get a routine. I like to have checklists. The girls have checklists, daily checklists, weekly checklists, monthly checklists. And I find that really does help me as a business owner as well, to know what's been getting done, because as we know, Erica, like, randomly you'd wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, did that get done? Did that get done?
yeah.
And then you're like up for hours thinking, oh gosh, okay, I've got to follow up with that tomorrow. I've got to follow up with that tomorrow. I've got to follow up with that tomorrow. And it just gets kind of exhausting. And it's always the follow up. So yeah, spreadsheets, checklists, trying to get your team into a routine of making these spreadsheets and checklists a thing, does help us as business owners to be like, okay, so I can sleep tonight, I think, because all the checklists are in. I know what's been done. Okay, cool. Now I know what we're going to do for the next week and things like that. So yeah, a lot of communication and a lot of spreadsheets and checklists. I totally think that that's so necessary when you're dealing with anyone remotely, and even brick and mortar as well.
Yeah, and I think, I also think too, like, I know with me, it's something that I've had to like let go, because I am a control freak. Like, I'm a great manager.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at any job I've had, I'm great at managing, like, and making sure things are done. And so there's a level of, when it comes to like remote or like working, like for you working far away, you kind of have to just let go of that stress of, are they really doing the stuff that they're checking on the checklist, you
Hmm.
know?
Yes, and that is a big thing because I tend to be a little bit of a control freak as well, a little bit of OCD. And yeah, so it is something that you do learn to let go a little bit. And I definitely have done that, which is probably healthy. Um, so it's probably healthier for me to not be so obsessed with certain things that really aren't that necessary or important at the end of the day. So I think that's been a good thing, but it is really hard because you want to know what's going on all the time. Like I used to be, so I'd be checking everything, checking all the email replies, checking all the social media replies, checking every single post that goes out on social media. I would be checking all of this stuff, and then it got to a point where I'm like, okay, so I know the team I have, they are very capable, and I have trained them in how to respond to emails, how to respond to posts, and just things like that. So how to even answer the phone. So yeah, I think you just got to trust yourself and your ability that one, you've hired the right people, two, they've got enough resources and things that they know what to do, and also that if they do need help, they're going to come and ask you for it. So I think just having those three things, you can learn to just step back a little bit and just relax. And even I've been away for 2 years and nothing's gone up in flames. Like, it's all fine. And
But it's,
yeah.
I can imagine, like, being away for that long, there's, thinking at certain times is like, oh my gosh, I have not been there in so long.
Mhm.
Who knows? Right? Or,
Yeah, like exactly. I mean, I have had clients that have seen me for over 10 years. So I still will get feedback from them, which is awesome. So I think it's really good as a business owner to not completely remove yourself from the business. Like I am still sometimes, like, because I don't obviously do the social media for the business, but I know when someone's commenting and things like that. So if it's a regular client, I'll comment back or send them a DM and things like that and keep in touch. Because it's still like my business at the end of the day, and it's still personal to me, and it's like your baby. So yeah, so I still get feedback from clients, so I always know what's happening. Like one of my newer girls, I messaged her. This is before I came to Australia. Messaged her a couple months ago, and I said, "You were doing such an amazing job. Like, you're really." I can't remember exactly what I was saying, but I was really impressed with what she was doing, not only with how she was going with the clients, but how she was running the salon and things like that. And she said, "Oh wow, that is so awesome that you know this from you're not even here and you know that." And I'm like, I know everything. I don't even have to be there. And I
she's
know.
like, good to know.
Yeah. And she was like, that's awesome. And yeah, because even when I'm in the room doing the clients, I know what's happening in all the other rooms. I know who's sitting out the back on their phone. Like I know all of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I could be like, oh, I'll be with my client. I'll be like, just a second, pop
Yeah.
out. And I know they're on their phone. And I know how long they've been on their phone. And I'm like, oh, do you mind hopping off the phone and doing this or something? They're like, oh, you always know what's happening. You always know. And
That's
then
hilarious.
when I'm away, I still know. Like it's, what's happening in the books, when they have, breaks or cancellations, or when things aren't being done. So, or when things are being done, like it's always important to recognize all the good things that people are doing. And I love when people just use their initiative and do things, as opposed to like, do you mind if I do this, do you mind if I do that? I'm like, do it. Like you don't need permission if it's if it's going to benefit the business. And the team, like, let's do it. So I love seeing all of that stuff. But yeah, I think it's, yeah, you just know what's going on. You don't even necessarily have to be in the same place. You know for sure. I think you're just in tune and you have things set up in place so you know.
I think that, I think the employees make the business too. It's like you're saying, like there's nothing I love more when somebody even gives me criticism. Says, you know what, we've been doing this way. What if we did this way? Or
Yeah.
I don't think this is working. I welcome that. I love it. Because I know I don't know everything. And it shows me that they're like, they care, they're involved.
Totally.
I
I
actually don't like the
completely agree.
submissive, like you were saying. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think, I've had, some employees who I'll say, okay, this is how this is how we do this. Because I'm really big on following up with clients and things like that when people don't read book. And as you know, that's a big thing that we always talk about is the follow up. And, so I like to keep track of that and how we, when did we follow up with them? Okay, have they replied? Have they not? Okay, and things like, I like to know what's happening. And so sometimes some people might be like, that's so unnecessary. And I find, I've had some people who have worked for me that are like, we don't need to do that. And I'm like, pardon? I'm like, no, we do. But if you have a better way, if you have a better system that we can keep track and not lose, these 100 clients who forgot to rebook, if you have a better way that we can keep in contact with them to get them back in, like, I would love to hear it. Anything that's easier, better, more efficient, more effective, better results, let's try it. But it's the ones who are like, no. And I'm like, okay, so your goal isn't to make the business grow and succeed. It's more I just want to do the bare minimum to get my wage or to get by. And so they're, red flags for employees.
I know. I know.
When
Yeah.
people are wanting to give you ideas and find ways to help improve things, like that's just music to your ears. That's like awesome. That's what you want.
It's so funny. Okay, so like before I started hiring, I was very much the employee brain where I thought the boss is evil. Like, they're the bad guy. I'm the victim. Like, they're making
Yeah.
all the money. I'm not. And then, it kind of, the same thing happened to me when I started making a lot of money. So like I grew up poor. I didn't, and so my whole attitude when I was poor was the rich are evil and they have all the money and they're trying to keep, and then I started making money. And then it was, oh crap, this is actually not the case. Like, my attitude switched a lot. And
Yeah.
my attitude has switched a lot with the employee thing, because it's so funny. I was just on like a BuzzFeed article or something, and it made me cringe. The whole article was about like when when your boss tries to get you to do something that's out of your pay grade, and you don't want to do it, and then it posted all the responses people have given their bosses. And me, 3 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, like, yeah, pay them more. But now on the other side, I'm like, are you joking? Like,
Yeah.
no, that's how you get more money. That's how you,
Totally.
because now
Yes.
I've been, but it's interesting. I don't know. Do
It's
you,
so interesting because the people who are like, no, I'm not doing that, or I don't get paid enough to do that. It's like, okay, so these are the people that are always going to never go above and beyond. And for me, when I do anything, I do more than 100% or I'm not doing it. Like, I even get so annoyed when people, okay, even like I always believe that if you're not passionate about something, you shouldn't be doing it. And I know you do things just to get by, but so this is probably a terrible example, but if I'm in an Uber or a taxi and they're asking me the directions, do I turn left here? Do I turn right here? How do I get there? What's this? And I'm like, oh, don't you have it, like, you know, you have a GPS, like, this is your job. And I'm like, don't you want to, like, I mean, you may not enjoy it, but like, don't you just want to put 100% in? Like, I just think, well, whatever it is that you do, like, do 100% or just don't bother doing it. Like, you just have to want to do it. And
I
I
think
just,
that's the attitude. Like I've
attitude.
always kind of been that person who, like, I remember coworkers making fun of me because I would follow, you know, I would go after the sales goals, you know,
Yeah.
and I'd try, or like I worked at Hooters and we had to do dances and I would always do the dance and my friends would be like, you actually enjoy that. You actually enjoy dancing, don't you? And I'd be like, I mean, we're all here. You might as well
Yeah.
enjoy your day, you know?
Yeah.
And I never understood wanting to be miserable, you
Yeah.
know, in your job. I get that. And I totally get that. Yeah, I also think too though, you know, a lot of people when it comes to passion, they somehow think that you're somehow born with this passion. And I feel like for you to be passionate about something, you have to get good at it first. And
Yeah.
so like I always bring up like doing like karate or judo or jujitsu or something. You're not going to be good the first time you go get in there. You're going to get pinned, you're going to get hurt, you're going to get whatever.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter just started jujitsu and she's lost every single match that she's done. And for her, it's frustrating. And right now
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to keep going because your first win, if you're going to get something, right? And so I always tell people, like, if you don't even know yet if you're passionate about
Yeah.
it, you got to give it a chance, right? Because everything's
Exactly.
miserable when you're losing at it, when you suck at it,
Totally.
you know?
Totally. And like, there is so many other things that you know, you might have this position, this job that you have, but there might be some things within that job that you are so great at, and then that ends up becoming your specialty. And this could work for any industry, but you know, I have some girls in the salon who only specialize in lips or only specialize in eyeliner or skin, or eyebrows. Like, they have their thing that they're so passionate about it, so passionate about, because they, you know, they love it, they're good at it, they've worked really hard on it. So sometimes, like, if you have this massive job role but you're finding that you are really excelling in some things and not others, then really, like, you can create different job roles within the company, and you know, talk to your boss about it and be like, I'm excelling at this stuff I'm not that good at. Let's, you know, can I do extra training in that? And I always think you have to keep working at it to become better at it, obviously, to enjoy it more. Some things just aren't your thing, and that's fine, but you've got to give it your 100%. Otherwise, what's the point in even trying in the first place? You don't really know if you enjoy something until you give it 100%.
I,
And when we're talking about pay rises, so when I asked for my first pay rise, I was like, worked out what my numbers were, what I was bringing in the salon, and then I looked at all of our supplies, and look, I found different stockists, did a spreadsheet. Okay, we could order these products from this company because we're saving $2 per item. We usually order 20 a month, so we're saving this much money. And then I basically did that and came to my boss and I was like, okay, so this is how much this is. Okay, so when you're in beauty, you should be making 3.5 times your wage to cover your overheads and expenses and things like that. So that's kind of good for people to know, because you can work out, are you making the company money? And if you're not, okay, well, let me work on it because I want this pay rise. So I literally worked out what I'm bringing in, how I can save the company money. And I went to my boss with this stuff and said, look at what I found. We can save so much money each month on all our orders. I can cut down my treatment time by this much, so I can increase, I can fit in 5 more clients a day, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about, giving me a pay rise? And like, how can you say no to that when you've done all the
I'd be
research yourself?
impressed.
Yeah, like, I just think some people, if you want it, you're going to get it. Yeah. But if you are expecting it and you just think, I work my 38 hours, I'm booked with clients, like, where's my pay rise, then it's kind of a totally different attitude that is only going to get you so far. But when you're actually proactive and thinking about the bigger picture, that's when you're getting all these, you can easily get a pay rise. Like I wouldn't, if one of my employees came to me with all that information, I would be like, perfect. You have like impressed me so much. You're definitely getting a pay rise, and let's look at more incentives and let's look at more responsibilities. And yeah, like it's just, you got to want to do it yourself.
I think a lot of employees don't realize how much that attitude is, how rare it is. And if, now I'm not speaking for every job. I'm not saying in Amazon you're going to get that treatment, or McDonald's, but in salons, in businesses like ours, where it's a small business and your people matter, there is always room for growth. And you have to prove, you can't be that person who acts like they're working in a corporation where they're never going to get a raise, or the raise is going to be 5 cents every 6 months or whatever. It's different. So, and that's why, like I said, like when I read that article, it just made me cringe, because I was like, geez, it's not hard to do, some, like whatever the heck somebody asks, right? And so, it's interesting. It's like an entitled, like there's just, it's an entitled like attitude that I think, if you, again, in our situation, if you're in a small business that needs winners, there's no room for that. There's no room for entitlement. It's going to hurt the business.
Definitely. There's, I always talk to my employees about red flag clients, but when you talk to business owners, it really is red flag employees.
Yeah.
You have some employees that are really going to help you get to where the business needs to be. And then there are, the red flag employees who just don't, that's not their goal. Their goal is to, just get their wage, go home, and sometimes just keep asking for more and more.
And that's the type of employee that really should be in a corporation, a big corporation, where they can just do their specific little job and they get that little wage, and then they can go home and get drunk on the weekend, right? For sure. I just don't think that salons run that. I don't think that, businesses that have less than 50 employees, I don't think that they can run with people like that. It's too hard.
No. And I think, running a business, it is 24/7, whatever business it is, it's 24/7, it's full on. And I think it's, it's important to have, employees and people around you that understand that, and, understand that you can have days off, you can have holidays, but the business doesn't switch off. Like, you are still thinking about it even when you are on holiday. And I don't think it matters what point in business or how much money you're making down the track. I think as a business owner, you're always going to be thinking about the business, because I think as soon as you switch off for a certain amount of time, that's when things are kind of going to decline a little bit. And I think with small business, you can't really switch off for too long, because you're not a big massive corporation that potentially could afford to lose lots of money and things like that. So it's really important to surround yourself with people who just want the same goals, have the same mission, same values, and really want to work as a team, and help the business grow, because by helping the business grow helps the employees grow.
Exactly.
And that's the end goal. Yeah.
Well, that's what I say. I say, hey, look, guys, like, we make this money together. It's not like you've made me all this money. I want to pay you more. I want to give you more responsibilities. I want this. I'm just limited at this bracket until we get to this bracket. And then we get to that bracket, and then we'll go to this bracket, right? And so, the attitude that you have to be. And I
Exactly.
believe with the right boss, you can, you know, I grew up, my dad had he had a boss that so he was a, what we call a factotum. So he did everything for them. He like managed, they owned most of the real estate in San Diego. And, he basically managed their house and their expenses, and he was their everything. He was their chef. He went grocery shopping for them. He managed
Mhm.
their employees. He managed their finances and their credit cards. He did like everything for them, and they paid him really well for it. They gave him Christmas bonuses. They gave him paid vacation. I mean, it was amazing. He didn't have to pay a dime for medical. Any medical expense was covered by them. Cell phone, car, house. They bought him a house. It was just what
Wow.
but his value to them was priceless. And that's why they just kept pouring into him and, blessing him. And so that's my vision is, gosh, if, the more you pour into my business and you care and you give your all, I believe that that type of, job it's not a thing of the 50s. I hear people say this all the time. Oh, Christmas bonuses are so like 80s, like and below, I think it is possible. It's just that
Totally.
nowadays people, they don't work to,
Yeah.
not to be Kim Kardashian here and say people don't work, but they don't work in the way that people were working to, for the companies to be able to offer them that kind of money. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. Definitely. You definitely come across people who, yeah, who just don't think about the bigger picture. I mean, I love giving Christmas bonuses. I love giving employee birthday presents and things like that, and just random bonuses. Just I love the ones that are just random. Like I see, oh my gosh, she's doing such an awesome job. She's making my life so much easier. Bonus. Like just the random ones I think are really good because it's not expected. But yeah, I think if you've got a good team and a good culture, like the whole goal is to have, yeah, to like I said, be surrounded by people who really want to go above and beyond because yeah, the rewards trickle down
Yes.
to the employees. And that's generally what a good boss does. And I think what good employees do is understand that a boss does not do 38 hours a week. They're doing like probably 100. So, like, and some weeks you might get paid similar to the employee that does 38 hours. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's more. Sometimes it's
Sometimes
less.
less. A lot.
And then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, so then when you break down those 100 hours, what is your hourly rate at the end of it? So you kind of need employees to understand that as well. Like it's not, a boss isn't someone who's just making so much money and does nothing and makes you work. That's an employee who has the wrong attitude. And you can't switch those attitudes, I don't think. I think you can educate, but I think it's really good to find those employees who really get that, who know it's hard work. Yeah, hiring is really important. Hiring is the make or break of a business, I feel.
Well, look, if you hire good people, you get to travel and live in another country if you want to. So
True.
it's that important.
This is
Um,
true. This is
yeah.
true. Yep. So, yeah, obviously creating a good foundation for your business and having the right employees and having routine in throughout your whole business, creating some automation, um, goals, expectations. There's obviously a lot of stepping stones that go into being able to step back and live in a different country. But it's completely doable. And I've really enjoyed doing it, and I've come across different challenges, which I love and overcoming them. But no, it's definitely been a really fun journey, and yeah, I'm loving being back in Australia and being in the salon, and like I said, meeting my new employees and things like that. And then I'll head back to the US in, I think I've got like 6 weeks left, I think 5 or 6 weeks. Then I'll head back to the US, and yeah, I'll be planning a trip obviously to come back to Perth. But yeah, roughly 3 times a year I'll be back. So it's yeah, it's been fun, and it's basically what I wanted when I started a business. It was what I wanted. I wanted to be able to travel. I wanted to be able to not be in the salon all the time. I wanted that freedom, and the ability to step back so I can make income from different, you know, different businesses and different streams off the business that I already have. So yeah, it's
That's great. It's possible.
yeah,
It's possible
it's possible.
to have, you know, to have what you want to have, and your dreams. If you have a dream, you can make it happen. You just have to have a plan,
Totally.
like you said, a strategy, a foundation, and you
Yeah,
got to execute. And so that's really
exactly.
that's so great. We'll have to get
Yeah.
you in when you're actually in. We'll do like an impromptu
Yes,
or something. So I can
definitely.
show everybody your off your, you know, just everything, your salon and everything.
Definitely. Yeah, since I haven't been there for a few years, we're just getting a few renovations done, getting some painting done. So it's, yeah, it's really fun, freshen everything up. And yes, I'll definitely have you all in the salon, and even meeting my employees and meeting the girls, and yeah, even getting their take on what it's like having their boss live in a different country.
Right. I know. I want to get them on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
For those of you listening to this later, we have a podcast called Beauty Pro Podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, all of it. So check it out. But yeah, okay. Well, I know we have to jump on to, we've got clients after this. So, I'm so happy I could have you on and just showing everybody what it's like to, you know, have a business where you really can run it remotely and have it be a successful brick and mortar. It's amazing.
Definitely. Don't give up on your dreams. Just set goals and set plans.
Absolutely. Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for being on.
No problem. Thank you for having me, and I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.